Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel, and welcome back to October Lake in Planet Zoo, a series where we're working on creating this really large park situated in the Canadian Highlands. And in today's video we're going to be filling out some of the gaps in the park with a new habitat for some Capuchin monkeys. If that does sound good to you, please do leave a like on the video if you did enjoy today's video. And of course do subscribe for more Planet Zoo content. I'm currently uploading videos every Friday at roughly 5 PM. Why did I say Friday? Every Wednesday at 5 PM UK time. I'm somehow sticking to that schedule. I'm not sure how. I'm terrible at schedules, but so far so good. So let's see if we can keep that going. Okay, so let's talk about what it is we're going to be doing today. So as you can see on screen, and as I've just mentioned, we are filling up this little bit of a gap kind of between where the tropical house is next to where the lemurs are and also quite close to where the nyala are. It's been an empty gap, and I thought I was going to just leave it empty, have it just be a bit of a grassy space with, nothing much around it. But I thought, it's a decent size. In fact, it's like quite perfectly sized for these Capuchin monkeys, and I thought, you know what, it fits the tropical theme, it really works together with the tropical house, and I thought it'd be cool to have another primate in the park. I'll probably not do many other tropical primates. I think this might be the last one. As far as other primates go, I think I will be including the Japanese macaques at some point. Those would be pretty cool, but they will be in another part of the park, of course. This is very much a tropical section, and I would like to kind of keep it that way. Another kind of unique thing about today's habitat is that it's going to be almost entirely an indoor habitat, but kind of like a pseudo indoor habitat with a mesh roofing. And of course we don't have mesh materials in the game. I wish we did. They would be brilliant, because a lot of primate habitats in zoos, they use mesh materials to allow for like really good airflow and stuff like that, so it does feel like the animals are outside. But at the same time, they're not going to be able to escape easily, and it gives them more climbing space, etc, etc. And, it works a bit like an aviary does for birds. But of course, we don't have those materials. So what I'm going to be using a lot of today is the, I can't remember what exactly they're called, those little crisscrossy wood bits. Cannot for the life of me remember right now what they're actually called, but you'll see in a second once I get started. But as you can see, we're just building the habitat right now with a lot of the, little fences, and yes, I just remember what they're called. They're called lattice pieces. So we're going to actually be using a lot of the wooden lattice, and that's going to be primarily the roofing for this habitat. We're going to see that in a bit. On this end over here, we're just using some natural rock work to get a little bit of a more secluded viewing area. And we're starting to work on the inside of the habitat. The inside's nothing too special. In fact, I'm not super happy with it. I might come back and change it a bit. It is just using a lot of these kind of dead branches and logs to create some climbing space for the Capuchins. And it's quite, I think it works well enough. It's pretty simple in its design, but it gives them lots of climbing space. But yeah, I would probably want to go back and change it up a bit, make it look a bit more interesting. In fact, the habitat as a whole, I do like it. I think it's very interesting to look at. I think it's definitely quite unique. But I might go back and neaten up some things, especially with the lattice pieces once we put them up there. They are going to be a little bit tricky to line up and stuff, so I might want to come back and neaten that up. I do use some of these pre-built log kind of like climbing structures that the game provides. They are very useful, and they just help provide that structure that really helps with the look of the habitat. And while we were just quickly putting the foliage and stuff, and before we're really getting started with the bulk of the roof work, let's talk a little bit about Capuchins themselves. Now, Capuchin monkeys are really cool. I've actually made a habitat for them before, and I in fact went quite in depth with a species profile for them. I'll put a link up in the corner if you want to see that, and we can learn a lot more about Capuchins in that one as well. That's quite an in-depth look at them, but they are fascinating primates. They are a South American monkey, of course, and they are thought to be probably the most intelligent of the New World monkeys. They are diurnal, very much like us. They spend their time awake during the day, but much unlike us, they spend all their time up in the trees. They don't really ever come down to the ground. They pretty much sleep in the branches. They spend all day just kind of going from tree to tree searching for food. But they're very adaptable as well, so they thrive very much quite easily in very many environments without without worrying too much really. As far as their status goes, as whether or not they're endangered, there are many different species. In fact, there's 2 different genus of capuchins and many species of capuchins, and they all vary a little bit. They kind of range from endangered to least concern. For example, the tufted capuchin, or capuchin, is the brown ones. They're gorgeous. They got this really nice kind of like chestnutty color. They're least concern, which is great, but then things like the Colombian white-faced capuchin, they are a bit more endangered. So that is quite unfortunate, generally because of loss of habitat in the wild. Of course, being South American monkeys and generally being from the Amazon region, it is they're not in the greatest of position with the amount of logging and stuff going on out there. So it is absolutely a good thing that they do have captive breeding programs that go on. Those are always very useful. But for these guys, the primary way of conserving them would be to prevent that habitat loss in the first place. And yeah, it's really unfortunate that places like that are, some of the last refuges for a lot of wildlife, and they're just not in a good way sometimes. So yeah, that is a little bit more about the capuchin. Like I said, if you want to learn a lot more about them, feel free to check out that other video. They are very cool monkeys, and they're super cute in the game as well. Big fan. But that is pretty much it for just talking about the monkeys themselves, because I do want to talk about the architecture we're working on today. As you can see, here is going to be the moment where I start really experimenting with what I want to do for the roof. I've kind of pretty much finished the inside of the habitat itself. It's just some climbing structures, a few shelters. Once again, I might come back and redo some of those areas. And one of the things I'm not a big fan of is the fact that because this is an indoor habitat, I always make them quite low-lying, and because of that we don't have really a lot of space for foliage and trees, so I had to keep it relatively bushy and low-lying. Don't have many really tall things like bamboo, which I would have loved to have, so might come back and revisit that. On the left side here where the staff can enter, I've just put in a flat roof, very basic, but it does the job. And that area is going to be a lot more secluded. Guests can't see into that. That's where the capuchins can go and hide. If they're feeling a bit stressed, they can go in there and they won't be able to be seen by the guests at all. In fact, I think most habitats for any animal in the zoo should have an area like that. There needs to be an ability for the animal to get away from the view of the guests if they want to. If they have that choice, they will just be so much less stressed, and it's just a really good thing. Here you can see I've kind of come up with the lattice structure, which I'm happy with. I use some of the wood planks as well to embellish it a little bit, and I'm starting to try and figure out how this is going to work. So because it is also not like a perfect rectangle or a perfect cube or anything, this habitat is going to need a lot of curving and readjusting things very slowly. And by the end, it's not perfect. It really does take a lot of work. As you can tell, we're only halfway through the video and we've only just got started with the roof. This pretty much takes up the majority of my time building today. So we've started just fleshing them out a little bit, and I've skipped a little bit ahead here in the video. In just a second you'll see me, yep, I just skipped ahead because it took me a long time to get that curvature right. And even when I did get it right, it's not perfect. It's curved just about enough, but not quite like that bit where it overlaps and stuff, which isn't perfect. So I would like to go back and fix those a little bit. Another thing that was a little bit tricky is because of the curvature, at some point the lattice hovers a little bit over the glass, and to fix that I just kind of raise up some of those wood pieces I used to trim the bottom, and it just kind of creates a little bit of a barrier there and makes it look a bit more okay, I guess. I think, like I said, if we had actual mesh pieces, this would have worked so much better. I think the lattices do look great though, it provides a very unique look. I end up covering the whole thing with the lattice, which I'm, again, not 100% sure I should have done that, but I did that. So maybe I'll go back and revisit it, but I'm pretty happy with how that looks. In fact, looking back on it now, I actually quite like the look of the open air habitat. So we'll see how it ends up going. Here I considered maybe making a kind of, how do you put it, the corner pieces. Essentially I was going to put the corner pieces there, but then I decided against it. Now I'm putting in some of these wood beams as support structures. Here I kind of tinker with the idea of maybe making them line up with some of the different the different struts between the two sides of the lattice, but I get bored of that idea very quickly, and you'll see me kind of just give up on it because I don't think it looks very nice, and also it just didn't really make very much sense. So that's me deleting all that and starting a little bit more fresh. Here, cleaning up some of the edges near the naturalistic wall, naturalistic rock face, and once again just messing around with the kind of the barrier between the glass or the steel fence and the lattice on top. All in all, I think this is one of my more experimental habitats for sure. I don't really think I've experimented that much with kind of mesh roofing, so to speak, or like pseudo mesh, I guess. And I think it was definitely a good learning experience for me, even if it didn't turn out perfectly, which, you know, it's fine. Things don't always turn out perfectly in the game, and that's absolutely chill. Like, it is all about experimenting and having fun with it, and I definitely had a lot of fun building it. I really enjoyed it, and it really did teach me a lot about kind of the mechanics at play here when you're building a roof, how to angle things a bit more. And this is kind of my advice to you guys. Like, I've had a few comments who are asking, you know, how to build in these different styles and stuff, and I think my advice is to just really just go and try things. If you think they're not going to work, just still give them a shot, because, you know, worst case, it doesn't work. All you have to do is just tear it back down and press undo. And you can really experiment with some very interesting styles, and you might discover things that, you know, you thought wouldn't work but end up working pretty well. There, as you can see, I've just put on the glass roofing. I wanted at least that bit of roofing to be glass so that we don't have too many of the lattice shadows, because with those lattice, they are thicker than mesh would be, so you do get a lot of shadows. With mesh in zoos, of course, you end up not really having much shadow, but you have almost a diffused light, which looks really nice in a habitat. Provides lots of natural light for the animals, while still allowing guests to see in pretty well. But yeah, the last part of today's video is going to be me trying to do that lattice roof between the glass piece that you see now and the actual roofing that you've seen kind of towards the guest facing area. That part is not perfect, and I do have to say I might have gotten a little bit lazy and copied and pasted things, and where it looked a little bit too not perfect, basically. So you'll see me maybe get a little bit lazy, but I do think it looks okay. I will probably fix it between episodes, but overall, not too bad. Anyways, just quickly before the episode ends, now that I've told you about whatever's going on screen, just want to talk about some of the other things we've been doing on the channel. As you may have noticed, we've started doing Jurassic World Evolution on Fridays now. So I'm going to try and stick to the schedule I mentioned. Of course, that means Planet Zoo on Wednesdays at 5 PM UK time, Jurassic World Evolution on Fridays at 5 PM UK time. And 2 videos a week I think I can handle right now. My workload at uni has kind of dropped just a little bit, so I do have just a tiny little bit more time to be playing stuff. And I think with Jurassic World Evolution, I'm very much happy to play it right now because modding has absolutely taken off. And I can really play it in the way I want to with, you know, like I mentioned, the biologically accurate dinosaurs and all that. I'm a big fan of that sort of stuff. So we'll be doing more of that on the channel. And maybe, well, I wouldn't say I'm going to do anything else more, but I've been saying this for months now, I would love to start live streaming at some point. So let me know, like, down in the comments, if I do start live streaming, what platform would you like to see it on? Would you like to see it here on YouTube, or would you rather I do it on Twitch? I have a Twitch account. I've barely ever touched it, but I'm happy to stream there if you guys prefer that. But just do let me know down in the comments. And yeah, let me know what else you'd like to see on the channel. I'm kind of interested in branching out a bit more in terms of content as well. Of course, I'd stick to the main themes of the channel, Planet Zoo, etc. But like, you know, maybe I could do some different Planet Zoo content, maybe review builds, or you guys can send in your builds and I can like help you guys out, stuff like that. Just, you know, toss around ideas down in the comments, and I'm more than happy to hear you out. On screen now, we're just finishing up, and you can see the mesh roofing does look pretty nice, but it got very messy very quickly. So I do hope that you know, it doesn't take too much attention away from the actual build. But yeah, that is pretty much it for today's episode. We're coming up to the end now. Do hope you guys have enjoyed the video and enjoyed maybe watching me try a different style of build that I've not really done before. And hope maybe if you learned something new about building or about Capuchin monkeys, I guess, even though we didn't talk that much about them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please do leave a like on the video if you did like it, of course. Do subscribe for more Planet Zoo and Jurassic World Evolution content. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!